Hi everyone, Gareth here. Just to let you know that if you would like to support the production of the Music Room podcast, you can. Just head to musicroompodcast.uk/support or click the link in the show notes. Okay, on with the show. Welcome to the Music Room. This time in the Music Room.
So I want to say, when you have any opportunities from any kinds of project, regardless of no budget or small budget project, do your best. You never know where or how an opportunity might come in the future.
Welcome to the first episode of the Music Room for 2024. I hope you had a lovely and peaceful break and now you're recharged and ready to take on the new year. And if you're not, don't worry. Festive period can be pretty stressful for some, can't it? Maybe January is about getting back into good routines. Either way, welcome to this little oasis that is the Music Room. Aside from this podcast, which I hope will give you some things to think about in your music life, there's a load of stuff going on at musicroom.community, so come and have a look at that. Especially if you're starting 2024 thinking it's you against the world. It's not you, it's us. Safety in numbers. The link is in the show notes. Today, you're going to hear from composer Yeakun Yoo, who has been from Korea to LA and back again. Yeakun has a really interesting story to tell and some great advice, so stick around until the end. But before that, music stories. Music Room guest Segun Akinola has scored a new TV adaptation of Agatha Christie's Murder is Easy. It follows Luke Fitzwilliam as he finds himself on the trail of a serial killer after meeting Miss Pinkerton on a train to London. Ooh, now Fitzwilliam has to find the killer before any more blood will be shed. On the TV drama front, Ollie Julian and Music Room guest Nick Foster have scored Disney Plus original series Renegade Nell. That series will premiere in spring 2024 on Disney Plus worldwide. Renegade Nell, a Lookout Point original adventure series, is written and created by BAFTA award-winning writer Sally Wainwright of Happy Valley and Gentleman Jack fame, and directed by Ben Taylor of Sex Education and Catastrophe fame. And those are the music stories. Yeakun Yoo is the winner of 2 major international film scoring competitions. He's completed numerous video games, commercials, animations, kids' songs, film and TV, and trailer projects. He majored in music composition at Seoul National University and is a graduate of University of Southern California, USC, where he majored in screen scoring. He's currently working with international clients from Korea, China, Hong Kong, Europe, and US. Let's find out more from the man himself. Sitting comfortably? Here we go. Yeakun Yoo, composer, welcome to the Music Room.
Thank you for having me.
And if I may say so, and you'll have to correct me if I'm completely wrong on this, annyeong?
안녕하세요. Yeah, 안녕 or 안녕하세요. That's
okay.
Right.
And the first one is informal, the second one is more formal?
Yes, 안녕 is when you greeting to your friends or
Right.
Your brother,
okay.
Yeah.
My first Korean lesson.
Wow, yeah, that was perfect.
Yeah. Well done, YouTube. So how are you today? You're in Korea at the moment, aren't you?
Yeah, at the moment, yes, I'm in Korea. The weather is freezing cold. I'm still I don't know how to wear my clothes because I used to be in LA and then I didn't even need to wear a lot of clothes. But now it's like snowing. It was snowing yesterday. Wow. And then yeah, it's beautiful, but at the same time it was freezing cold. So I got a cold a few times during a few weeks, but now I'm okay. But yeah, I'm trying to find out any ways how I can live in Korea.
Right. So are you newly back there from LA?
Yeah, like it's been like 5 years. I had lived
Wow.
in LA for 5 years. So yeah, it's kind of new.
That is so, yes, you're just buying jumpers and
Oh,
trying to
yeah.
keep warm.
Right.
Wow. So we'll get into all of that about how you came to be in LA from Korea, and I'm really interested to find out about all that. But first, let's talk about Lies of P. It's an action role-playing game developed by Neowitz Games and Roundhouse Studio, released in September of last year, 2023. How did you become involved in that project, and how was it for you?
Yeah, so Lies of P, like 2 years ago, there was a game conference called G-Star. There's two main events in United States. It is called GDC and G3. So yeah, this Korean version of GDC. So yeah, it's annual event, and I always attend that event. And then 2 years ago, I found a game called Lies of P. And then I thought, oh wow, this game is really cool. I really wanted to score this game. I was just like thinking about that just myself, but like my dream like came true because like a few weeks later, Lies of P team reached out to me, and then said, we found your portfolio from my team composer. And then actually I have a company called YK Music Productions. I have 4 assistant composers, and one of my assistant composer's friend was the team of Lies of P team. So
wow,
yeah,
that's how it works, isn't it?
Yeah, right.
It's who knows who.
Yeah. So yeah, the team composer, he found out my company website, and then he thought the portfolio was really amazing and good, so he recommended me to his audio director, and then the audio director reached out to me, and then yeah, that happened. So after that, the director wanted me to try a short sample for the game, and I did. Actually, he only asked a short sample for main theme, menu music,
right?
But I composed a full version of menu music, and I even gave him 3 options as well. So he really liked it, and then yeah, he wanted to work with me with the game. So that's what
Would you say writing music for games is a bit like theatre, where the music will start when this happens at this point, or when this character says something, rather than the linear way that TV and film is? Would you kind of put it nearer theatre than TV almost?
Yeah, so I would say the main difference from game and film is, I would say, is freedom. So the best thing of scoring Lies of P was, I mentioned this to any of my interviews before, but all my cues that I've written for Lies of P was approved without any single revisions. So
no way.
I mean, I think that was I was fortunate, but actually the audio director, he really wanted me to be fully creative on my music. So he actually didn't give me any reference. Just he gave me game images and gameplay videos, and then yeah, just do your job. And then I said,
amazing. So where did you? I mean, just to give listeners a little background, Lies of P is based on Pinocchio, isn't it?
Yeah, right. Yeah, Pinocchio.
So where did you go back to that for your inspiration, or where did you gather inspiration from?
My first impression about fairy tale based game is, I thought I should use a melody, a theme melody, because in my memory, whenever I listen to fairy tale-ish music, there was always memorable themes. So even though it's not like fantasy fairy tale game, but I still think I thought using a memorable theme for a game would be very cool. So whenever I worked on any cues, I tried to use memorable themes for each cues, and it worked really well.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Well, let's go back in time. I want to find out how it all began for Yeakun Yoo, and I want to know how you got to the US and, all of that. So if you're ready to go back in time, shall we?
Yeah, let's go.
Okay, here we go. And so here we are, back in time. Wow. So how did it all start for you? how young were you when you first became aware of music?
Yeah, so my very first music experience started in the church. So my father was a tenor and my mother was a soprano. They're not professional tenor or soprano, but they
Wow.
really like to sing. So the church choir used to have practice sessions every week, and it lasted for 1 to 2 hours. So because my parents were involved, I always had to be at the church during choir practice session. So during the session, I used to play around with the instruments in the church, like guitar or piano, and there were also percussion as well, like djembe, conga, something like that. So yeah, I could listen to the church choir every week, and I naturally became familiar with church music, and that was really cool. So I really loved listening to church music every week, and I wanted to play an instrument or sing, or singing for the church choir myself as well. So I asked my parents if I can take any private lessons about music, like instruments, and they introduced me a piano teacher who was a friend of my mother's. So that's my very first experience as a musician. Yeah.
And that's an amazingly kind of strong introduction, isn't it? And to actually see it in action, I think is the most important thing there, isn't it? Because some people kind of learn in isolation and get frustrated that they're not. I've had guests before who got frustrated that they weren't playing with other people. So to see that as your first introduction must have been really special, and especially singing. There's something about a choir, isn't there?
Yeah. It was like very special and amazing experience.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So you've started on these piano lessons. I presume, given where you ended up, that you took to it really quickly and well. Did you enjoy that experience of having lessons?
Yeah. So during the piano lessons, I loved learning piano itself, but especially I enjoyed playing other songs as well, such as like children's song, like Twinkle Twinkle Little Stars, It's a Bitsy Spider, like public domain songs. And also, since my background is from church, I love to play some hymns, like Amazing Grace, something like that. So actually, when I was playing the piano, I didn't really want to be captured by sheet music, like notes, but like I really wanted to play something that was my own. So not just like children's song or hymns. So one day when I was like 7 or 8, I was having a lunch and a melody suddenly popped up in my head. Like I started humming that melody and eventually wrote it down as sheet music. So
Right.
yeah. So it was a very short song, only like four bars long, but it remains the very first piece of music that I ever created in my life. So I still
Wow,
can sing
okay.
that song. Yeah, like
Can you? Can you remember it?
yeah. It was like I don't really remember the lyrics, but like da da dun da da dun da 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 dun da da dun dun da dun dun da 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 dun. It's like very cute,
That's
simple song. So thank you.
round of applause. I'm going to insert it there. That's fantastic. That's amazing. You can remember it, and and that's really great. You can pinpoint the exact moment almost.
Yeah. I mean, I
you
clearly
decided,
remember
wow,
everything.
that's
Yeah.
that's amazing. So that was 7. Did there then become like a flood of compositions coming out, or did you relax into your teens? And what happened in your teenage years?
Yeah, so actually, I think when I was young, I think I really loved music itself. So not only getting private lessons from teachers, I really liked music class from school. So sometimes we play instruments or we sing or we do a lot of musical activities. And some students didn't really like the music class, but I really enjoyed it. So I was one of the top student during the music class, and then that was the first time that I think I'm kind of more talented in music than other people, and I knew that I had perfect pitch. So that's why I could also write it down, the notes, when the melody popped up in my head. So yeah, when
You're
other
making
people,
sense of it.
yeah, when other people play any notes on the piano, I was able to write it down without considering what note it is. Yeah.
That's very cool. And, the Music Room podcast, I took the inspiration from that very thing, the music class at school. It just, for me, it's like a comfort blanket almost, a place you could go to in school where you felt like you belonged, you felt like you were doing well in that area. And so that's good to know, that's happening all around the world.
Good, yeah.
So following school then, you obviously got these qualifications. What prompted your move from Korea to the US?
So before answering that question, I want to point out a little bit about myself, and then why.
Yeah,
and then
sure.
I want to explain why I wanted to explore my new journeys in United States. So, as I mentioned, I'm a classically trained composer. So, in order to get in music college in Korea, we basically had to take 4 kinds of exams. So it is composition and harmony and perfect pitch and piano. So we had to pass all the exams, and finally we got in school. So that's why I had 4 different private lesson teachers. So for composition, I had to understand like various composition techniques like sonata form, or rondo form, or variation form, and even more forms. So, and then like harmony, I had to master all the fundamentals from like 17th century to like 20th century harmonies. And like perfect pitch test is like crazy. Like during the test, there is a test from school. I have to attend school and then take a test. So during the test, they play a piano piece with a fully atonal and complicated rhythms. They play it 4 times and requires the applicants to transcribe it.
Wow.
So it was really hard. So like even though I had perfect pitch when I was young, but this test required extensive training, and I also studied with a perfect pitch teacher for over like 3 years. Yeah, like
wow.
Yeah, it was really hard. And then for the piano test, I had to prepare like Beethoven piano sonata or something like that. So, like through these tests and even during my university life, I was mainly trained as a classical composer. So, like, I'm kind of more like disciplined and trained composer. So when I was working in music production studio, I tend to write pieces followed by rules. But I really wanted to expose myself to more like freedom. So I tend to write pieces like classical pieces. And so, but whenever I listen to some major Hollywood composers like John Powell, like John Williams, something like that, I don't know how to describe it, but I could feel that they are instinct follow composers. So I always start to follow my rules as like harmonies or music theories, but their music was something different. So I really wanted to explore what that is from United States, especially in Los Angeles. So that was the very first time that I had a desire in myself. Yeah.
Wow. So I guess you've become, given, did you say 5 years in LA?
Yeah, 5 years.
Yeah. So you've become a kind of a mix of really good grounding and the basic fundaments of writing.
Right.
With allowing yourself the freedom.
Right.
To inject Yeakun into your pieces. Yeah. That's really fascinating.
I'll say I also have another vision as a teacher as well, because when I was young, I couldn't find someone who is also have background in classical music composition and at the same time as a film composer. So usually when I find any teacher, they're usually just a film composer or just classical composer. So it was really hard for me to find someone who is something like that. But now I'm becoming those kind of people. So
Yep.
I really want to teach students or people who really wanted to be professional in classical side and like film music side as well. So
Yeah.
yeah, that is my another vision.
So you're at USC in California. Do you have mentors or people who inspire you over there?
Yeah, actually, I want to mention two people. The first one is
Okay.
Gary Scheinman, and the second one is Ryan Shore. I personally think Gary Scheinman is the best game composer in the United States. His musical color is really unique, and everyone else can notice his music by listening just a short part of his music. Yeah, so his music sometimes very atonal with experimental textures, but sometimes it's really melodic and romantic. So I can say that my music has also influenced by his music.
Ah, that's
Yeah,
really nice to hear.
right. And I met Gary before I get into USC because I already was a fan of Gary's music. And actually, I sent him an email and asked him if he could give me feedback on my game music. So he reviewed all my music and wanted to chat with me. So I called, and so he gave me his phone number, and then I called him. He gave me a lot of feedback about my music, and also recommend me to study in USC. So that was one of the reasons why I wanted to go USC, and I also worked hard on my portfolio to be admitted to the school. Before USC, I had really gained experience working with various game companies. Since I had background in the game industry, I didn't feel a strong need for my music to be more unique. So one of the best things about meeting Gary was that he always provided me with a lot of feedback from the standpoint of a professional composer. Not just saying like, oh, this is good, but he rather say, this is not unique. Make something yours, not others. So there was less problem about the sound quality of my music because I spent a lot of time on developing sound qualities. But he often pointed out that it sounded somewhere familiar or lacked a distinctive color. So I tried to find my own color, and it worked well in Liza P project. So he's still my number one mentor. And then, as I mentioned, the second mentor is Ryan Shore. I met him during USC. So he was one of the instructor in USC. And one day there were 4 animation cues as assignment, and I only had to do one of those. So, but I really wanted to give him a good impression because I really liked his work. So I did the all 4 cues and sent him an email and asked if he can give me any feedback or other cues as well. So when I was sending him an email, I attached my other portfolios with my resume as well. So he replied me the next day and said he was really impressed by my portfolio and gave me feedback about the 4 all animation cues as well. So I think that was the first time that he had a good impression about me. So after USC, actually he reached out to me and asked if I'm interested to score a Netflix animated TV series. And I said, yes, I'm definitely interested. So
Wow.
so he gave a few cues and I scored on it as a test. So, and he really satisfied with my work and we did a few more. But unfortunately, the project didn't go well. But he reached out to me another project called Trick or Treat Scooby-Doo. So I scored a few cues, including some theme music for a character called Coco Diablo. I really enjoyed scoring that cue because I used electric guitar melody combined with brass, like trumpet. Yeah. So Coco Diablo, her character was really unique. The director really wanted something like Latino vibe, but villain. So Ryan asked me to use like tango rhythms like conga and djembe, but adding electric guitar and orchestral instruments at the same time. I didn't know how it would work, but if I combined all the instruments together, but yeah, it ended up working perfectly. So the best thing about working with Ryan was every single time when there was a feedback about my cue, he tried to explain it very simple and clearly. So, I'm a foreigner, but I was able to completely understand his feedback when he was saying something. So I could also learn how he communicates with the directors. So I think I learned how I should give feedback to my assistant composers from Ryan. So he's really kind and a very talented composer as well. So I really appreciate to Gary and Ryan.
I can see how those two people are incredibly important in your kind of development as a composer.
Right. Yeah.
And congas in Scooby-Doo. It's like full circle back to church, isn't it?
Yeah. Right.
Amazing.
Thank you.
That is superb. Thank you for that. So I ask all of my guests to leave an item and a piece of advice in the music room for others to find. What advice would you like to leave in the music room?
As I mentioned, I have a company and I had to deal with different kinds of clients. So I would love to give some tips as an entrepreneur. So I know a ton of successful composers would have given this feedback, but I would also say that relationship with people is really important. So a lot of my clients are coming from my past clients. So they talked about my music to their friends and partners, and that is the best promotion that I can do. So I want to say, when you have any opportunities from any kinds of projects, regardless of no budget or small budget project, like do your best. You never know where or how an opportunity might come in the future. So and then in game projects, especially for AAA level or larger scale projects, there are times when you have to compete with other composers to secure the project. So of course, the quality of music matters, but personally, my approach involves actively asking questions, and even if they requested just one short sample, as I mentioned before about Lies of P project, I provide 3 or more fully completed samples. So approaching it this way makes the client feel that I'm paying more attention to their project and make them fully trust me on the project. So basically,
I love that. And
yeah,
sorry to interrupt.
No. Yeah,
I like the advice about, if you're going to do it, regardless of the budget, do your best.
Right.
I would add to that, if you don't feel like you're going to do your best, then don't do it. If you feel like, oh, well, it's a low budget, I don't really want to do it, then don't. Rule it out.
Yeah.
Don't do a bad job, basically, isn't it?
Right.
Would you have an item that might have helped you along the way that you could leave in the music room?
So recently, what I'm really focusing on is I had done it before, but I'm still trying to explore my own music languages, like music colors. So in order to do that, I try to find new instruments and new sounds and recording new samples through my voice. And especially, I recently bought a keyboard called Seaboard. It's Rise 2. That one was really awesome. So I actually used that device for like 2 AAA games. And Seaboard is, I don't know how to express it, but the color is really unique. The glissando and the color from synthesizer, I don't know how to express, but
well, it's like it looks like a keyboard, doesn't it?
Yeah, it looks like a keyboard
with a kind of a rubber.
Something like that. Yeah, right.
And then you can, rather than playing individual keys, you can kind of smooth over.
Right.
So it is a really hard thing to explain, isn't it?
But, maybe you need
a unique
a little
instrument.
bit. Right. Maybe you need a little bit practice to explore what the sound is, and then maybe you have to figure out how to do it. But yeah, I found that there are some very good analog sounds in there, and then yeah, it was really helpful for me to try some experimental sound for my composition. And yeah, so far it worked so well.
Okay, that's going in the music room for others to have a go at. It's been a joy chatting with you, Yeakun. Thank you for joining me in the music room.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for listening to the Music Room podcast today. If you'd like to know more about the show or the community that surrounds it, head to musicroom.community. The link is in the show notes.